Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Witch, or as they call it, The Vitch, starring Anya Taylor-Joy and directed by Robert Eggers. Now, before I get into this movie, I remember going to theaters for this thinking, what the fuck did I just see? Well, let's see how this movie goes, because I have seen it a couple more times after that. But is it as good as I remembered or bad as I remembered? We'll see how this goes. Let's get into it. We open with Thomasin, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, in a courtroom where her father William is being convicted as he dismisses the court as false Christians in New England in the 1630s. As Thomasin is the eldest daughter of William and his wife Catherine, with four other kids: Caleb, twins Mercy and Jonas, and baby Samuel, as they move in the middle of the forest as they confess, and Thomasin plays with baby Samuel until something gets baby Samuel, as this opening sequence is scary, but it's just adequate at best. And the rest of the movie won't scare me as much as I was more worried about baby Samuel than any other characters, as unfortunately I don't really care for the other characters as much. Baby Samuel is dead. And how the fuck did that happen? Particularly since Thomasin was playing with the baby and all of a sudden it gets taken away. That's just fucking random. Catherine prays for baby Samuel's safety while not realizing he's dead, while William and Caleb go hunting for something that looks like that took baby Samuel, whom Caleb is led to believe baby Samuel is in hell as he talks with his father about it. And I thought, where in the hell is this coming from? Which bothers me to death for a kid to think like that. While hunting, William and Caleb and their dog Fowler see a rabbit, and William hits himself while shooting at a rabbit as it pokes his eye out, which reminded me of A Christmas Story in some ways. And the twins play around with the black goat, and William gets back inside, and the twins are acting crazy as Catherine is rather abusing Thomasin on how she orders her around. And as the cinematography is good to look at, but the acting is not the greatest in my opinion. Caleb stares at Thomasin's breasts, which I've noticed a couple times, which creeps me out for a kid that age to stare at them in the first place. While that scene is going, Thomasin says to one of the twins of a tale of how she is the witch and took Caleb to her master, which feels pretty life threatening to a kid that young of an age. And the movie is very slowly paced, and as this movie is 90 minutes. But when I saw this in theaters, it felt like forever. Like, I've been sitting in the movie theater for at least a little over 3 hours that day, and admittedly, I did see something before I caught a showing of this, but can't remember the name of that particular movie. But that point is for a 90-minute movie, it kind of drags. And I unfortunately felt it as this is a boring film. And the reason I'm saying this, I hate to say it because it looks beautiful at times, is because I don't know what the fucking plot is, nor does anything happen in this movie. Thomasin and Caleb and the twins overhear the conversation William and Catherine have about baby Samuel, how baby Samuel's in hell, and Catherine believes Thomasin did it to the point that Caleb wants to go find baby Samuel on his own, but Thomasin goes with him with a horse and bring Fowler the dog with them, and they spot something like a rabbit on the ground, and Thomasin falls off the ground, and the family begins to lose Thomasin, Caleb, and Fowler, the dog. But Fowler is killed off screen, but we hear his cries, which is painful to hear in my opinion. And Thomasin runs back to their farm in the woods while Caleb is still lost, as he finds something like a witch, and he gets killed. And the score is terrifying, sure, and there are good things about the movie, sure, but I'm having problems with the pacing, and this is a boring plot as nothing is happening in this movie. But William wants to find Caleb as Caleb returns to the house, all wounded, and honestly, I thought he was dead right off the bat. So good on director Robert Eggers for keeping me fooled to think Caleb was dead, but is still alive, so I did like that. William breaks wood in half while in the rain, and the next thing you know, the twins torment Thomasin, saying she's a witch while making a go, which is fucking weird while it bleeds blood from the area. And William and Catherine have a conversation about how she wants to be home in England while she confesses her heart as turned to stone and is afraid of Thomasin. And this monologue is very hard to understand because of the thick accents, which is the same problem I had with Murder on the Orient Express, both of those movies. Caleb wakes up and says some random shit like the devil has possessed him as he throws up an apple. And the twins say she's a witch, and they try to pray, and the twins act crazy. While Caleb and I thought, what the fuck is going on in this scene? As it's overwhelmingly overacting. And Caleb and the twins die for fucking real. And I thought, really with that? That's just stupid. Catherine screams at Thomasin, and she runs out crying as nobody believes them and turns against Thomasin as she's being punished after hearing William and Catherine's conversation as William brings Thomasin home, and Catherine doesn't want to look at her as William wants the kids to wake from the spell of the witch, and as they do, William traps Thomasin and the twins together as they want to keep the witch from the house they live in. And does that make sense? Not really. William prays randomly to God while Catherine sees Caleb and baby Samuel in her imagination, and the twins see her imagining this while a crow was pecking at her. And I thought, what the fuck is that all about? As it's not scary, it's more making me ask what the fuck way too often, as this is unfulfilling. William dies from looking at Thomasin randomly as the black goat kills him off dead, and I thought, what the fuck was that? Because it didn't make sense at all. Catherine comes up to Thomasin and calls her a devil and attacks her until she cuts Catherine's face and kills her off. And this movie is making me think I'm not the biggest fan of A24's horror films, as they're so weird and random to death that I can't even handle it. Covered with blood, Thomasin goes inside the house, and nighttime comes as she joins the witches in the forest and floats up. And I thought, what kind of a fucking ending is this? And the climax made me ask what the fuck way too often. As the end of the day, I was unfulfilled. I gotta be brutally honest at this point. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.5 out of 10. The movie has some good stuff in it, like the cinematography and the score, but the acting in this is not the greatest, as there were times it got too fucking random. Despite the movie is 90 minutes long, I felt scenes dragging, as there were times the movie didn't make much sense, and I didn't really care for these characters. The movie did make me ask what the fuck almost as often as the ending was a complete what the fuck moment. And is it scary as people say it is? Not at all, except for maybe the beginning scenes. But as it was unfulfilling, and this movie is the movie that did not make me ever want to watch another A24 horror film ever again. But I'm trying to lighthouse in that upcoming Alex Garland movie, Men, that I'm going to review soon. It actually looks pretty good, but we'll see how that goes. But I'll talk about The Lighthouse next time, and I'll talk about Men in a couple of weeks. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with The Lighthouse. And until then, let's go back to old times.